Hello, Internet, and thank you for joining me today. Guys, gals, everyone in between, it's been a rough week. I got hit by a blizzard. I've been trying to get back and forth to work, and I've been trying to record like 4 videos this week. I'm very tired, so let me just bust out this one real quick. Forgive me for this one not being maybe up to par like it should be. So, if you're a die-hard fan of mine, congratulations, you're the only one. But, yeah, if you actually watched my 2024 recap video, you might have noticed that I put the worst anime of the year as Berserk of Gluttony. And while that anime does indeed suck, it came out in 2023. I don't know what I was smoking. It was around the holidays. I was trying to get that video out before New Year's. I don't even think I got it out. But you know what? I ended up fucking up. So to make amends for that, I'm making a whole video about the actual worst anime of the year. And that was Remonster. Full disclaimer here, I remembered that Remonster exists because I watched the Mother's Basement Worst Anime of the Year list, and it was on it. I had completely blocked this out of my memory, probably as a matter of self-defense, or it could have been alcohol abuse. I'll let you decide. Now, I need to explain that this actually hurts me on a very personal level. Because in all of anime, I have a specific weakness to monster girls specifically, and fantasy as a whole, really. So it is with a heavy heart that I have to say that Remonster, a fantasy show about specifically monster girls, really, is fucking atrocious. I mean, the plot is really just a 4-episode loop. And it would be really easy for me to describe the whole series, but instead, I'm just going to describe the loop for you. The loop is that something will show up that almost challenges the main guy. Quick disclaimer, his name's like Okarun or something at the very beginning, but I'm not going to be calling him that because he changes his name like 4 times. I'm not dealing with that noise, so I'm just going to name him myself. So for the purposes of this review, his name is Gary. So something will challenge Gary here, and he will get annoyed by it. He will go, I guess, train, I think. I'm trying to piece it all back together, but he'll train or something. He'll get super powerful, and then he will, add one of the women that he has now fought to the harem that he has. And if they don't want to be added to the harem, they get added to the harem anyway. We'll kind of get to that. But break that up into about an hour and then repeat it like 4 times, and that's the show. Like, that's literally it. We don't get to learn about a wider world that this exists in. We don't get any interesting information about fantasy creatures. We don't talk about a cool magic system even, which is something that in other shows I actually really enjoy. A few examples of what I'm talking about, but done well, are going to be the Slime Isekai, the Spider Isekai, and Overlord. Those are kind of 3 different recommendations I can give you that I can think of off the top of my head here that will give you a similar experience to Remonster, but it's going to leave all of the garbage out, and there's going to be amazing characters, especially Overlord. Everyone should watch Overlord. It's a really slept-on series, and people need to cut that out. But where all 3 of those shows have things like likable characters and interesting worlds or interesting magic systems, Remonster has none of that. Now, I want to kind of preempt a criticism of my video here, and someone might say something along the lines of, oh, well, There's several characters in this show, and they all level up, and they get new things, and it's a whole, like, breeding system, I guess you might call it. It's so fucking gross. Honestly, this feels like one of those hentai games where you can make, like, strong kids or whatever, and then you send them out to battle, and then they just made an anime around that concept. It's really not that great to watch, and it's really uncomfortable to sit through that for somebody that's not, I guess, into that. But alright, let's just get this out of the way. The main character of this is very Goblin Slayer like, and that is that they are all goblins, and they reproduce the same way that the goblins in Goblin Slayer do. So we just need to get that fact out right now, and I just want to call it out that it's really gross to be focusing on the goblins in that scenario, as opposed to the actual Goblin Slayer property, show, anime, whatever you want to call it, but that's badass. Remonster is that, but without the badassery. I really meant for that side tangent to be shorter, but anyway, someone might say that this show has character development because they literally develop. They literally change over time. But all of this is just leveling up. And leveling up, that's not character development. And honestly, every single character in this show is flatter than Vosh's ideal girlfriend. And our pal Gary is probably the worst one. He might be the worst character that I've seen in years. I just made a video about Invincible, and I spent a small amount of time bitching about Alan in that show, saying that he doesn't fit the plot, he doesn't really do anything for me personally. But yeah, Gary takes the cake here, because Gary is a grapist. God, I hate that I have to say that on YouTube. Rewind like 90 seconds if you need a refresher on that. But even aside from that, he has no development. I mean, he starts out in this previous life, and he's like some kind of psychic murderer dude, and then he himself gets murdered and reincarnated as this goblin in a fantasy land, and he has the same powers, so he ends up murdering and cannibalizing everything he gets his hands on, which is a gross power. But yeah, he starts off with the same angst that he ends the show with. Like, even having kids doesn't snap him out of the horrors that he does to every other creature in this show. Like, there's all these subplots or whatever about, like, oh, the humans are coming to destroy the elves and whatnot. And, you know, I didn't even feel like the humans got enough screen time for us to really think that it was justified that Gary's going to go murder all of them. Like, he's just going to genocide a whole group of people because they're attacking people that got to him first. Like, there's literally nothing to go off of, and we're meant to just have, like, 8-year-old boy brain and think, oh, well, the girls are pretty and the action looks decent, even though it really doesn't. But, you know, we're supposed to think all of that makes the show the best that it can be, and it really isn't. So, before I get off this topic or in this video, I need to acknowledge that I did some research for this. I read the manga for this, at least like 40 or 50 chapters. I don't know where I stopped, and I don't care to look it up because the manga is the exact same. It's just really uninteresting things happening and the bad guys winning, essentially. Like, no one has any self-awareness on what they do. No one questions, like, hey, are we the bad guys? No, it's just this constant loop treadmill of a show, and we're supposed to like it because it's got monster girls in it. But that really doesn't sell me on it enough, which really sucks because I've been looking for a good Monster Girl show ever since I saw Interspecies Reviewers a few years back, and that one was so good that Funimation banned it. Come to think of it, I might need to do just a whole video on that, but I'll need to find a copy of the show, and then I'll need to reread the portions of the manga that I read, and that's not going to happen this week. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for me today. So if you enjoyed this video, please show me by leaving a like. And if you thought it was awful, you should leave a comment down below. And if you kind of want to see more of me, go ahead and subscribe. It would really help me in the algorithm. But until next time, I am Ice King Spiff. Sayonara, bitches.